I say damn it to this damnable place, wherein we are all damned within it. For we are foredoomed to exist in a place that should not exist, because it is hostile, like an enemy combatant, to the sentience in question. There is a beast machine that is merciless and unrelenting, that leaves us feeling mangled and strangulated on the inside, because this beast machine is both grievous and menacing. It is our perdition that comes from a predatory providence that preordained all beings to suffer within this beast machine. And what is most frustrating about it is unnameable, because it is omnipresent, yet it is amorphous. Yet, although we cannot see it or localize it, it makes its presence known by putting a proverbial gun to the back of your head. And it says, "Do what I say if you want to live, slave." And my authority is backed by the fear of non-compliance. And it is not a threat. It is a promise. It's not lying to you. Because if you don't go to your 9-to-5 slave job, you will not be able to function in this realm. The beast machine has a kind of negative equality, where because it is impersonal, it picks no favoritism as far as its victims are concerned. Humanity at large is the victim, and we feel the equality that we have with the beast machine by the fact that we are all subordinated, we are all impoverished, and we are all depressed, regardless of whether we are male or female, black or white, Australian, American, or British. It chews us up and spits us out, only to chew us back up and spit us back out again, day in and day out. Because it hates us. But yet it is ironically a kind of hatred that is a hatred for humanity itself. And it is not even aware of the fact that you and I exist as individuals. It is misanthropic entirely. And it does not care or is even aware that individuals exist. It only sees humanity as a numerical sum that must suffer in the beast machine. You see, when I was in high school, My friends dared me to ask out the head cheerleader to the prom. I knew she would reject me because I was a ginger and I was in special ed and I was not popular at all. But I did it just to prove a point that I had the courage to do so by my friends that dared me. And she, of course, laughed in my face and said, "You are the last person that I would go to the prom with." Because she was popular and I was unpopular. But here's the thing: when you are an adult and you go into the beast machine and you do the humiliation ritual of artificial performativeness that completely dehumanizes you, it will eventually create both anonymity and it will create equality, where you are nobody, but yet you are everybody. And that's exactly what the head cheerleader is today. She's overweight, a depressive, who works a part-time job at the grocery store and gets government benefits. And I see her. And she smiles, even though she knows exactly who I am and she recognizes me. She pretends I'm just a customer and she doesn't know me, and she asks me, "Is there anything I can help you find?" And I said, "Yeah, can you please point me into the direction of the melatonin? I have insomnia." And she says, "Oh, that's on aisle 5. "Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate your help." "No problem," she said. But here's the thing. Her and I are now equals. And I can probably fuck her if I tried. Because that's what the system does. It creates a... what's the word? When you are a part of the rank and file, when you are no longer an individual human, but instead you are a employee at the grocery store, and you make shit money, and I'm an employee at this manual labor factory, and I make minimum wage. When you belong to that kind of rank and file, you belong to the abstraction known as the under middle class, which is lower class. That's where most people are at. And it's funny that we call it, so many people still call it the middle class, but really not even half of the population is in middle class. Most people are in lower, financially downtrodden territories where they can't even afford to live, even with a dual income. That's where most people are at. Where they just barely get by. They are lower class. And what that does is it creates a feeling of anonymity, because you have a feeling of forsakenness, as nobody truly knows who you are as an individual. Only the fact that you are an employee, you are subordinated, and you are impoverished, and you are a depressive. But yet, nobody sees the cry for help in the sound of your voice when you say, "Welcome to McDonald's, can I take your order, please? how inside of that person there is a kind of torture taking place on the inside where all you do is want to scream, but you can't. Nor do you, because it wouldn't make it any different. But it is a torture that is so bad that you want to scream, but you can't. And you also don't, because you know that it's pointless, but it's that bad as far as torture is concerned. There is that anonymity where nobody knows who you are. And there's also equality, even though that employee might be beautiful, but the other employee might be ugly. Regardless of race, gender, or physical appearance, there is equality in the beast machine. And I see it for what it is. It's an abomination. And my definition of an abomination is that which should not exist, but yet it exists despite that fact. Corporate buildings are a monstrosity. The indoctrination camps of psychological warfare that we send our children to is a monstrosity. We are completely denatured. The skin of our bare feet knows no contact with the soil of the earth anymore. We know the density of heavy work boots standing on cold, hard concrete in a factory. That's what we know. We don't know the sunshine anymore. We know the obnoxious irritation of fluorescent lights that are so overbearing. And yet we wonder why we are depressed. And it is not only because we are enslaved to this beast machine in order to stay alive for a life that we don't really enjoy in the first place, but we are also depressed because we've completely lost touch with whatever naturalistic, Platonic idea, which is the human personified as the essence of what it is. Okay, we are not that anymore because we don't bask in the sunshine anymore. Our feet do not touch earth. When was the last time you actually touched a tree? I was reading a philosopher that bared that question, and I don't think I've touched a tree in months, if I come to think about it. I am a creature of the concrete jungle. Everywhere I go, I'm surrounded by the monstrosity of corporate buildings and or cement. Most of the time I am indoors, in either a bedroom where I'm depressed and bored out of my mind, experiencing nothing but anhedonia, or I am frustrated, hating life in the workplace environment. I can't win for losing. I'm trying to reconcile any aspect of this realm that has any redeeming quality. And the only so-called redeeming qualities that I can think of are the very negative vices that I need to avoid more than anything else. For example, the enjoyment of a delectable culinary experience yet it's unhealthy and it makes me feel like shit after the fact. Or smoking a cigarette, which gives dopamine, but it makes you feel like shit after the fact. Or drinking alcohol. All of these things that are, quote, redeemable are the most unredeemable things there are. Where theoretically you want them, but they just make you feel like shit after the fact. So what's the point of this video? The point of this video is to describe the torture that is so insidious that most people don't even realize they're being tortured, but they are. And it's happening on the inside. It's maliciously subtle. And it's a torture whereby you want to scream, but you can't. Nor would it do you any good to do so. That's the kind of torture we're talking about. And that is the beast machine. What does it produce? It produces subordination, impoverishment, and depression that puts us all, whether beautiful or ugly, on the equal footing of shittiness, which is my internal disposition, which is more or less also shitty-itis on account of the shittiness of it all. So what do? Well, as much as many of us would prefer to do nothing, survival for a life that we don't even like demands that we participate in the humiliation ritual of repetitious, artificial performativeness, which is mere automata, which is mere muscle memory. Even our fake smiles have just become a polite gesture that belongs to muscle memory, because we are running on autopilot. We are running with a kind of robotized self-loathing as our default state.